Here we are on beautiful Jones Street.
You saw Ted Jones.
What's up, guys, and welcome to the Ted Jones World Podcast. As you're listening to this, Thursday, July 4th, 2 p.m., we have the 5th annual Ted Jones World Vegan Hot Dog Eating Contest at the Comedy Shop. The event will start at 2 p.m., followed by a comedy show. It'll go till about 5 p.m., but it's going to be an amazing 4th of July event. It's going to be a free event. If you guys are interested in coming, check out the link right here below in the description. Get your tickets before it sells out. This is going to be a sold out event. It's going to be fresh, and I can't wait. People ask me all the time, like, Ted, why are you doing a vegan hot dog? Why not a regular, quote, hot dog eating contest? And I'll tell them, do you even know what's in a, quote, regular hot dog? I don't think you want to know. But what's in these vegan hot dogs? It's like soy protein. It can be made out of seitan, but these particular ones that we're going to be using is soy protein. So I'm very excited for that event. Every year that we've done it, it's gotten more and more traction, which is exciting, you know, but the first two ones that we did were on Zoom via video chat, which is hilarious. And then the third one we did at the Stand, which is a comedy club in New York City in Union Square. The fourth one last year we did at the Moxie Williamsburg Hotel. And then this year we're doing it at the Comedy Shop, 167 Bleecker Street. But it'll be a great event. I'm very excited. There's a lot of summer activities going on. And also, just to touch back on that vegan hot dog eating contest, Joey Chestnut got banned from the Nathan's hot dog eating contest. So eventually he's going to do an annual Ted Jones World Vegan Hot Dog Eating Contest. Maybe he'll do it this year, but I imagine in the years to come, he'll do it. That's like a crazy move also by Nathan's to ban him. I mean, it's because he signed with Impossible Foods. And for those of you who don't know, Impossible Foods are a vegan brand. So I don't know what it is. Maybe Nathan's are like, yo, you can't be that exclusively associated with another brand besides Nathan's Hot Dogs, which is a little bit weird because he crushes the competition every year. He wins by like 25 hot dogs plus. And to be honest, I don't know if we would even have enough vegan hot dogs at this particular event for him. But as the years go on, we would love to have him. So Joey, if you're listening, bro, we would love to have you every single year for the rest of your goddamn life for the vegan hot dog eating contest. This would be great. It started, for those of you who I guess are curious as to why we started doing this. I think it started off, one of my buddies was like, yeah, you should do a vegan hot dog eating contest as a joke. Like, this probably was in the end of May, like 5 years ago. And I was like, wait a minute. This was like right around the time that I started going vegan and I started eating just like more vegan foods. And I was like, wait a minute, that would actually be funny. And then I just had a few of my friends who were down to do it from their remote locations. And I think this was during the time where people wanted a fun activity to do. So they were down for it. So shout out to the first 6 competitors we had. And we're always looking for more females for the event. You know what I mean? I, in the past, have done the first inaugural vegan dog. But I think at this particular event, maybe we'll have a guest do the first inaugural vegan dog, because it takes me too long, and then I'm rattled by the time I have to host it, because I don't know how you guys feel before you have to do something important or public speaking or something. I don't like to be speaking or on stage on a full stomach, not even a full stomach. I just don't like to eat right before I have to be clear-headed. I don't know, maybe that's different for a lot of you guys, but in the past or recently, I've seen comedians eat right before they get on stage and then they do fine. They're just more comfortable that way. Or people feel like they can't do their best if they're not fueled right before something. But for example, today what time is it? It's 3:30 p.m. and I still haven't eaten today. And I just feel good. I like working out on an empty stomach, hitting tarps off on the West Side Highway. You know what I mean? It's a beautiful day outside. But the past 5 days, there was the most brutal heat wave. And I would just wear an outfit like this. I'm usually just wearing all black. But obviously, if you're just listening to this, I'm wearing a Ted Jones Comedy Show t-shirt. And then black sweatpants all the time for the most part. Jeans in this weather, I don't even know how you guys do it. And then the finance bros and everybody who has to wear a suit to the office, God bless you, man. That's got to be difficult. Or, you know what? Actually, I might take that back. I might not have so much props for you guys or so many props for you guys. How can I even say that? Is it so much props or so many props? Anyway, but you guys are taking the subway to work at like 6 or 7 a.m. when it's not that brutally hot yet. And then you're leaving the office 12 hours later. So maybe you're not spending that much time outside unless you're getting a sweet green salad. But anyway, that's a whole different form of props to be given because those guys are working hard, man. I saw a guy who was the same age as me. He was working 100-hour weeks at one of these finance jobs and he just like passed out and died. But the culture in finance has always been working a ridiculous amount of hours. I couldn't even imagine working 100 hours a week. I guess like the idea behind it is that you work 100 hours a week and then going forward, like the next year or the next 6 months, you only have to work 80 and then you work less and less. And then you just put all that pressure on the generation younger than you. It's like frat culture. You know what I mean? You have to do exactly what I did. You're going to get hazed the same way that I did. You're going to have to drink this much alcohol and whatever it is. But this past weekend, I had a White Claw and a half, and I haven't had a White Claw in so long. I just really haven't been drinking that much. And if you guys are curious on my weed journey, which is insane, I haven't smoked pot since like February 7th, which is insane. I don't know if I ever would have thought that I would go, now it's like, I guess it's like 4.5 months since I smoked weed. And if you've listened to the podcast previously, I just always talk about smoking weed. Because I would do it like 4 or 5 times a day religiously. I would just stop it 3 hours before the podcast or like a couple hours before I go on stage so I could be more clear-headed. And my dreams have leveled out. For the 3 months, my dreams were out of control. They didn't make any sense. Now I think I'm having more logical dreams where I could see that things would potentially happen in the real life plane as opposed to like the weirdest stuff would be happening during my dreams. But yes, I've written some of it down. People say that to me all the time. You better be writing down these crazy dreams. Yeah, I'm thinking about it. But some of the stuff, like, it just wouldn't even make sense for me to write down. And then when you think about video games and such, you can't help but think that we're probably all living in a video game, right? You can't be upset about anything that happens to you or like get too down for too long because ultimately whatever happens in the future is for you, right? Your boy Tony Robbins talks about life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you, which is a fresh way to think. You know, if you think something bad happens to you, obviously there are tragedies in life and you'd be like, why is this happening to me? But I guess you have to switch your mindset and be like, what is this teaching me? Which is crazy. And obviously it's a very difficult turn of events and a different way of thinking, but it doesn't really benefit you to think negatively. You know, like I saw this guy that I know and like I guess his mom has been not so healthy the past year or so. Like she's been going through a lot of treatments medically. And I asked him, I was like, how's she doing? You know, and instead of him being positive about the situation, he just like was giving me the most negative energy and like negative answers. And while it's definitely, I'm not taking anything away from him, it's definitely hard to switch your mindset to be like, oh, well, at least she's doing this or doing this. It was just like a run of the mill negative things that are going on. And it's so easy to think negatively because people speak negatively all the time. Unless you ask somebody, how are you? You know, how are you is just such a vague baseline question. And you're really not supposed to tell people how you are. Or if it's somebody who is really deeply caring about you and it's not just like a brief interaction, like, how are you? And somebody's like, oh, not good. You're like, all right, well, this guy, your girl, is probably going to be a burden. So like people ask me, Ted, how are you always in such a good mood? And truth of the matter is, I wouldn't say I am always in a great or good mood, but I just like, when I'm around other people, I would like to think that I'm not hiding it, but you got to kind of be in a good mood. You want to be a pleasant person because nobody wants to be around a negative person. This month in June, just to, I guess, switch topics rapidly, I've been doing a ton of stand-up, which has been great. So if you guys have not heard episodes on Monday the past 2 weeks, it's because we have started doing the podcast instead of twice a week, once a week. I'm sorry. But I think just right now it makes the most sense for the brand just because doing episodes twice a week is a lot. And with the amount of time I'm spending out doing stand-up, it's become harder to balance. So as you guys are listening to this, for like 3 years of the podcast, we were doing it twice a week. And then there was like 6 months where we were doing it 3 times a week. So I don't want you to think that I'm falling off. So if you do like listening to the podcast, we're still going to be doing it once a week. Don't you worry. And then occasionally I'll be getting on here by myself. And then, on top of that, once a week, we will still have guests in the studio, and it's going to take a good amount off my plate, because scheduling 2 podcasts a week and then putting it together and coming up with all these topics, it's a lot. It's a lot. And if you're following me on Instagram, Ted Jones World, I'm trying to do a lot more solo sketches where it's just like phone right here and then talking to the camera. And I think that's the best way to go about making more content, because it's all about, like, content is king. Obviously I need to focus on stand-up, which I'm doing every single night. I'm doing now like between 10 and 14 shows per week, which is a lot. It ain't no slouch. June, I'm probably going to end up doing like around 50 spots. So since March, I've really been ramping up the amount of stand-up. And now that I've been focusing on Ted Jones World full time, about 3 years and 2 months now, things are slowly coming together. And being in stand-up, it's like if you miss one night, it feels like the end of the world. Which I don't know if you feel the same in your industry, but it's like you just feel as if you miss one particular night, there was somebody who got signed to a $10 million Netflix deal that particular day, which is hard for us comedians. But I think being in New York it's the best place, at least for me. I don't know about you guys where you're listening to this. I just feel like the pace here matches how I am thinking and how I want to live. I'll go to a place like Miami for 4 or 5 nights, go to a place like LA for 4 or 5 nights. And by that 4th or 5th night, I'm like, all right, I want to get out of here. And I feel like taking a day that's like a little bit slower, I can still do 1 or 2 things that benefit my career. I still feel like those are quiet days. And working out wise too, I know I've talked about this in the past. I haven't been working out every single day like I was. I do feel like I've tried so many different methods of like health and wellness that these 3 months since I've implemented the way that I've been training has been making me feel better. I'm sleeping a little bit more. Like I'm trying to sleep like 8.5, 9 hours a night, which is more than I've slept in the past. But previously, like for a year and a half, before 3 months ago, I was training literally every single day. I was lifting and running, and I was spending at least an hour and 20 minutes in the gym, which takes up so much time. And then training every single day, you just don't have time to recover. And I feel like my mind was just always so focused on fitness and health and wellness. And I'm doing what I'm doing now, the Mike Metzger method. I've talked about this previously. It's where you work out, just being a guy, that's what I'm talking about. You work out 2 or 3 times per week, but when you're in the gym, you push as hard as possible. So you're only doing 1 set, which is insane. It's insane sounding, obviously, especially since there's so many gym influencers and people telling you, oh, you got to be working out 5 days a week. You got to be running, lifting, but working out 2 or 3 times a week, especially like the amount of weight that I'm trying to push up. I just feel like I look the same. I feel great. I have more time to write. I have more time to think of sketches. And running without headphones and running without a phone has been super beneficial for me. I just feel like, I don't want to say I clear my head, but like I gather my thoughts better. And I just feel like people use music as a crutch sometimes. And people will say to me like, Ted, oh my God, that's psycho. You freaking are out there with no headphones, no phone. What is wrong with you? But I don't know. I mean, that's how people were working out for years, It'll clear your head. But yeah, stand-up has been going well. I do feel more comfortable as I'm on stage, and I think it happens every night. If I have this happened to me the other night for the first time, which is insane. By like the 4th show of the night, I typically do anywhere from like 10 to 15 minutes, or it depends on the show. Like tonight, as I'm recording this, it's Margarita Monday. I'm probably going to do like 17 to 20 minute set. But by the 4th set on the night, I started a joke. Like I went probably 70% into the joke. And then by the end of the 10 minutes, I started that joke again. And I realized that when I was like 25% into the joke, I like asked the audience, I was like, Guys, did I already tell you this? Which is hilarious. And you'd think that maybe being a stand-up comedian, that would happen sometimes, but that was the first time that ever happened to me. And I think being a comedian, the best thing you can do is if something's not going well or whatever, is to like break the tension and announce it and like let people know that you know that something didn't work. Right? It's not like trying to hide something and being like, oh, well, that wasn't awkward, right? Even though everybody else in the crowd theoretically would know that it's awkward. Breaking the tension. I think that's super important in stand-up comedy. And I think also in life, breaking the tension, you know, being like, oh, sorry, I know that we're feeling this awkward situation between us, but let's break it up. Let's continue doing what we're doing. But yeah, a lot going on. Tomorrow I'm going to be at the US Open site creating some sketches, so I'm excited for that. But being a vegan comedian, tennis player, I think I have a unique angle. So I think bringing all those things together is super important. And being an entertainer, it's like you really have to notice your surroundings all the time. It's hard to turn it off. You know, I always got my notebook on me in my pocket. I'm always trying to think of new things. It's like a 24-hour job for the most part. I don't want to be dramatic and be like, yeah, I'm working more than the finance bros. And like those guys are obviously going ham and doing spreadsheets and figuring out what needs to be done numbers wise. And that's probably a more grueling job because like I don't think I would ever pass out and knock on wood, you know, faint because of the amount of stand-up that I'm doing. I would like to think that. And staying away from smoking weed and drinking as much, I think is helping. And the vegan diet, obviously. So I'm just trying to be as healthy as possible. You guys see I got a nice little tan on me, you know? So maybe that's good for me too. I think like sun in the morning is important. It boosts your mood. A little bit of coffee. But like I said, I haven't eaten today and I'm probably not going to eat until after the show tonight. So probably not going to eat until like 9 p.m. And I think once I hit hour 17 or 18, I start to feel good. But then by like 19, 20, I feel hungry. And then once I go on stage, I'll just forget about food. I'll just be focused and lined in on the jokes. You know what I mean? But this New York heat wave, it's tough to manage. I can only imagine, like the AC in my apartment now is off. Like I have a window unit. You guys can see right here if you're watching on video. But it's not on right now because like it would just make so much noise during the podcast. And then throughout the night, I'll put it on a timer for like 3 hours and I'll go to sleep. Maybe I'll wake up like 6 hours later and then I'll turn it on for an hour. But it's tough to manage the heat. And then obviously when it gets cold, it's tough to manage the literal heat in the building or in the apartment. Just to gingerly switch topics. Do you guys ever wonder what your name is in other people's phones? You ever wonder that? I don't know. I feel like for the most part, like sometimes I don't put last names. Sometimes I do. If it's a common name, I'll put a last name. But maybe if it's a unique name, I'll just put a name. You see somebody's name pop up on your phone and you're like, oh, yo, what up? Makes you like in a little bit of a better mood, which is crazy. I wonder how the world worked when my grandparents were around. Grandma, if you're listening, I'm curious when grandma listens to the podcast here and there. Like, how did you stay in contact with someone? Like, let's say you go on a date with someone, it goes well. I guess the guy needs to be pretty clear. Like, I would like to see you again, right? Like now you go on a date with someone and it's like unclear. You know, you have to wait like, oh, will he text me the next day? Right? This is so new. Stuff is so new. Texting has been like culturally relevant for like 20 years. Before that, it was the at-home phone, which you could leave voicemails on. And then before that, it was like, what, you write somebody a letter? Like, hello, Martha. It's been 3 weeks since our date, and I would love to go on another date with you. You go on that second date, and then boom, at the end of it, you're married, you have a kid. Things would just move so much quicker back in the day, I feel like. Now, it's like things have the ability to move quicker, but you can mess things up so easily, right? Like guys don't really know how to text. Maybe girls don't really know how to respond to text. It's like, it's different. We're all learning this at such a slow rate, you know, while everything else is moving so fast. Like these Neuralink patients, you guys know about this? People putting a chip in their brain. That's insane. I imagine I will never do that. But granted, are we going to live longer to the point where by the time I'm almost 100 years old, that'd be fresh if I live to 100. That'd be fresh if I live to 100, but I don't know. But like, am I going to want a chip in my brain so that I could move like a 30-year-old again? Maybe. I think that would be a selling point. You know, they'd be like, all right, you could be 100 and walk around like it's difficult for you to move and things like that. Or you put this chip in your brain and you start moving like a 30-year-old. That would be fresh. Start cycling and stuff. I don't know what I'm talking about. I've never cycled. I'm more of like a running and lifting guy. But I think, yeah, that's a good selling point for it. Life is going solid. At times, I'm like, I wish that this entertainment, this comedian lifestyle would move quicker. But as like to say, as going back in the beginning of the episode, things are moving at a pace where, you know, I think you have to evaluate yourself every year. You always got to do your best to make you happy. That's what like when I see 26 and 27-year-old guys, or I guess kids really, in the comedy game, I'm like, damn, you guys really got in on this at an early time. Good for you. You know, they've been doing it 3 or 4 years, or as soon as they got out of college, they started pursuing stand-up comedy. That's a blessing. I didn't even know what I wanted to do until I was like 26 or 7 years old. And then it took me another 2 years to start to do it full time. So I think you really got to do what you want to do electively, like after work or in between work, or do things that make you happy, because it's very tough to find a job or something that really you're passionate about, unless it's something that you've been doing for years. But I'd recommend that for everybody. You know what I mean? Guys and girls themselves. And I'm very excited. I'm passionate about the vegan hot dog eating contest. So as the years go by, and the more annual vegan hot dog eating contests we have, hopefully one day it'll be as big as the Nathan's hot dog eating contest. The Ted Jones World Vegan Hot Dog Eating Contest, July 4th, 2 p.m. at 167 Bleecker Street. Guys, the event link is in the description, wherever you're listening to this. Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. It's going to be an amazing event. Put in your reservation because the event is going to sell out. It's going to be great. We have pre-selected competitors. We might have room for 1 or 2 of you. If you guys would like to compete in the contest, message me, Ted Jones World on Instagram, or ted@tedjonesworld.com. But I would suggest doing it as soon as possible because things are going to be hectic. Things are going to be great, and I can't wait, and we'll see what happens in the future, you know? I do sometimes treat this podcast like a diary, especially when it is just a solo episode, when it's just you and I talking here, or if you're in the car with people, if it's just me and, you know, talking to you guys. I appreciate every single one of you. Guys, I'm Ted Jones. As always, we'll see you next time. Peace!